Hello, amazing coaches. Welcome to the BDC show. Another week, another exciting opportunity to learn, to grow together, and to talk about Usher. I know that Super Bowl has passed by the time this episode goes live, but I'm recording it. It's super relevant to what I'm going to say today. But I definitely am a football fanatic, as you guys know. And while I love watching the game and the Super Bowl, I just always find that there is amazing lessons inside the Super Bowl that have to do with business if we look at it from that perspective. And so I'm going to talk about what we can learn from Usher today. But specifically, I'm answering the question of how much content should we be giving away for free as coaches? This kind of consistent struggle that I hear, especially from new coaches, of free versus paid for content. And I very much remember struggling with this in the beginning. Was like, I have all this good stuff. I've been working so hard. I don't want to give away all of this for free, but how much should I give away for free? And you want to share it with the world, but you're also kind of afraid if I give it all away, then they're not going to pay me. Or if I give too much, they're not going to see the value. And so I think that this is a very common question for any business owner in the beginning. And so today I want to speak to us as coaches specifically. And where is that sweet spot between giving away free value and actually charging for the value that we give? And so I want to talk about Usher, though. Back to Usher. Now, whether or not you're an Usher fan or a football fan, totally irrelevant. I think unless you're living under a rock, you did at least hear something about the Super Bowl and you knew that Usher was giving his halftime show. I thought it was a fantastic show, but it immediately took me back to college because I hear the music and Ludacris comes out and I am like, you know, dancing in my seat as I'm watching, and the whole thing rocked. You think about there were, these kind of Cirque du Soleil type performers and lots of them. I mean, the dancing was well choreographed. So you have dancing, you have the stages, you have these elaborate costumes, you have Usher who's and his band that have put together this music and this 15-minute free concert that is projected to the world. And do you want to know how much Usher made for doing that halftime show? Go ahead, fire it at me. I can't hear you, but fire it out. You might already know the answer. And that is essentially $0. $0 he got paid to give that live performance. And so you might think like, do all of them get paid and not? And some do actually, and some don't. But it's really a beautiful business lesson underneath. The question is, why was Usher willing to put so much time and energy into this 15-minute free concert if he didn't get financial ROI in the beginning or at all from this performance specifically? And some might say, oh, well, he has all the money he needs. Sure. But he's also a smart businessman, right? And so the reason he gave away that free value was to pull people in, to show like in 15 minutes, I can give you all this stuff, all this free value. But what I know is you're going to get so much value from this 15 minutes of free airtime that you're going to want more of me. And I don't know about you, but that's exactly what it did. When I hit the gym Monday morning for my leg day, I went right to Spotify and he was top of mind. And he apparently was for everybody else because I think like the last I checked, his downloads to his music had like 10 or 20x by Monday morning. And also, the first thing that popped up on my Spotify front playlist was a pop up for Usher's new release, new record he was releasing, new album. I don't know what you call it these days. New CD, new tape. I don't know. But, anyways, he was so smart, right? It was this entire funnel, if you will, just like we are doing in business, of free value to paid for value. And it was a business genius move. It was a huge uptick in conversation around his music, and he knew exactly the sequence that was coming and prepared for it, because performing at the Super Bowl is an honor for an artist, and second, it's a great opportunity to capitalize on more value and more fanship and more interest in our work. And so I share that example because that's what we're doing. We also want to create this 15 minutes of value, I mean, quote unquote, so that the people listening love our work. They want to learn more. And so today, let's talk about though, like how much should we give for free and how much should we hold back on? And I remember, and I've shared on the podcast before, I remember listening to an Amy Porterfield podcast, and she was just like, hey, 100%. You could listen to every episode that I release and string them together in the proper order and build a business and never need more than that from me. And that's why we have podcasts, right? I do this because I know not everybody's going to turn and become one of my students, right? Not every member is going to want to buy a service or a product from me, or a listener rather. And that's okay. This is part of my value of giving back to the world in a free way. And it really satisfies the full business model for which I feel like fulfills my soul and my purpose that God put me here for. Is I know that putting out the podcast every week is a large financial obligation for me because I pay my editors and my team. It's a large time obligation for me. And I do all of this for free. You don't have to pay to listen to the show. All I ask in return is that you just leave a review, right? And if an episode really speaks to you, I want to know about it. I want to engage with you. I want to talk to you. I want to learn why this podcast is something that you choose to listen to every week. And beyond that, my hope is that I give you so much value here that you want to continue the journey to the next level with me. But like Amy said, you could listen, but what you're really going to do at some point is love the listening so much and the value that you want more at a deeper level. And so then what our clients do is they come closer to us in new ways. And what they're really hoping to gain is proximity and accountability and a deeper opportunity to get their questions answered. Right? It's much like dating. We're like staying on the surface, and then we're like, well, I kind of think you're cool. Like, I'd love to know more about you and what it might be like to be in your world. And that's exactly the experience that we are creating when it comes to our clients as well. And so, giving away free, valuable content, first off, it builds that trust. It builds that trust factor. It showcases your expertise. When people listen, it says, oh, she knows what she's talking about. She's been there. She's sharing specific examples. She articulates herself well. Like whatever it is that like floats your boat, like you're seeking that out to build trust, right? And it allows your client to know that you are a model for where they want to be, that the results and the work that you're doing show a possibility and hope for a future for them that doesn't yet exist. And so they engage with that content to get closer to that future over time, right? And this is why value is key. And so in the beginning, we want to be a little scarce. We want to be a little stingy with that because we do have that fear. I'm going to give it away and they're not going to want to come closer. But what I'm going to offer is it's actually the opposite, that when we give away our value, the more value in a specific way, it actually brings more people closer to us. Some other great examples are Alex Harmozy. He recently like broke the internet because he gave away this like 7-day content and then at the end made no call to action and gave away this course or something. I don't even remember, to be honest, at this point, but for free. And everybody's like, what's he doing? Well, that's because the majority of his listeners are not his ideal clients. He works with basically companies that are already making 3 million and up, and he helps them grow. And so he knew that of all those people that want that free stuff, only a small amount are going to be his ideal person. And that's true for all of us. And so your clients can listen to all the free content, read all the free content, but their lives are busy, right? If you are nailing your messaging and you are clearly through your content solving a problem for them, whether it's on a podcast or a blog or from a workshop, as they are ultimately going to try to go out and execute it on their own. And some will be successful. And some will realize they don't care that much about the goal. And some will realize that they can't prioritize it. And then there will be some that want it so bad and they know you're the answer that they're going to keep coming. And eventually, that value that you've been giving is going to turn into I need paid for value, because what I really want is to have personalized connection to you so you can guide me to the goal I want by you holding my hand, you giving me consistent value and you giving me consistent accountability. And that is the difference and the shift in mindset that I think is really key to understanding that being scarce with the value you give is actually not going to serve you in the long run. Ultimately, people are paying for proximity and accountability, and they will never get that from free value. You're listening to this show right now, and you might have questions and you might have thoughts, and it would be great to sit down and have a conversation. And the way that happens is if you come into one of my coaching programs and then you have access to our open coaching, or you're post a question in our coaching, in our community, and I can give you direct feedback. And so ultimately you're deciding, like, do I care that much about that? Am I going to go all in? Am I actually willing to invest? Like, does she show me that this is really the ROI I can get consistently, and coming alongside her with more intention and privately? Right. And so they will not get that proximity or accountability through passive consumption of your content. So free content is kind of like this high level, right? So the stuff I'm giving you right now is high level. But when we talk about the what and the why and the how to, the problems and the mistakes, the exact steps, that's where paid content comes in. So if we were to define the difference right now, high level overview is the free stuff. But then when you come into my world in the BDC, you're going to get the exact steps to build your framework. You're going to get the exact steps to renew your clients. You're going to get the exact steps to find clients. You're going to get the exact steps to host an effective coaching session. And even my webinars, I go a little bit more than high level, but I'm still not walking anybody through the steps specifically. I'm staying above the how to line in my free content. And then once you become a paying client, you have just free access to all the how to, the mistakes, the details. And you even have access to ask questions around that. And supremely deep access comes in that one-to-one environment, right? Which is why that typically is our highest ticket package that we offer, is because it's literally just you and me. Nobody else to buffer the room, nobody else to ask questions. It's your journey exclusively. And that's why why we're paying for that. That's an exclusive number of people that will get access at a higher ticket. And so ultimately that really creates just like this very subtle difference. And what you might find though is, if you're constantly already giving away how to exact details, that you want to back it out a little bit, because maybe you are giving too many details and you're like, here's where I see it happen is somebody will send you a direct message. Yeah, but I'm really stuck on how to meal plan. And you're like, okay, so what are you doing on Sundays? Oh, okay. So Sundays, here's what you should do. You should write out all your meals. And then I want you to cook your protein first. And like, you go through in the DMs the exact details for them. And then they're like, got what I needed. Right? The DMs are not for your coaching unless it's a paid person. In fact, I don't think it's of good ethics for us to do that, because they haven't said, I want you to coach me. And so we want to keep that in the high level and ask the right questions. And then if they are feeling like they want to get into the details with you privately, that's the time to say, hey, let's hop on a phone and let me hear more about what's coming up for you and how I can support you. And that's when you can invite them to be in a more formal and committed relationship with you as their coach. But just like a couple examples that I wanted to even think about is, if you're not sure how free versus paid is looking, think about your signature framework or your course or your modules. Is if you did a series of posts on the topics covered in the course, even if they were laid out in that series implicitly, right? People are still going to pay you to deliver a very concise, clearly like laid out, attractive package so that they don't have to go searching for it and piece those parts together. Not everybody will do that, but many will. And so even if you're not sure, am I too in the details or not, there are still people that want to just pay you because they're paying because time is the most scarce resource. So you're like, I don't even really care. I just want you to help me now because my pain is so bad and I don't want to spend another minute feeling this way. Same thing if you listen to podcasts where I talk about framework, I go over from a high level the process. But it would take me multiple episodes to possibly walk you through the entire framework builder. And then you have to go back and listen. You wouldn't have a workbook. You wouldn't be able to watch the modules. So if you want to build your framework right now, you should head over to the Framework Builder Lab and jump into the course and independent study it. And you can have lifetime access right here and now. That's the difference. If you listen to a podcast, you're intrigued, you're curious, you get like this high level picture, but you're like, but I'm still not sure. And that's where I say, come into my world. Let's talk more about the details. And let me show you that like I teach them inside of this smaller price point package. And so I hope that really gives you some peace and some understanding, so you're not sitting in that paralysis of what's too much, what's too little. If you're going to err on anything, it's err on the side of giving more value than you really think. And remembering that the high level overview is really where that free value can hang out. And what they're paying for is proximity and details and accountability once they become that paying client. And that could mean in a workshop, or that could mean in a more long term coaching practice. And so, if you have questions, as always, about anything we covered today together, head on over to my Instagram, send me a message. I'd love for wherever you're listening on the show to just leave a comment. What part of this episode really landed with you? And if this was super valuable, as always, I in advance would love for you to leave us a review. That is how people find us. It's how the magical podcast platforms say, oh, people are listening, people care about this content, and show us to more people. So again, this is free value. I'm giving this away because my heart believes in it with intention. And the way that you can just say thank you is by leaving a review or sending me a message to let me know that it's definitely landing on you. So until next time, go coach them up.